All right, and we're live. It looks like we don't have any uh, viewers right now. So we got everything set up. We'll see if we can get a viewer first. Once we get one, we'll roll with it. Everything's all set up. I got my phone ready. I got Jameson's mock. This is that awkward silence. Waiting for one person to join. It's probably going to be Jameson, who's not here right now. All right, there's somebody. That's Schwab. Wait, there he goes. All right, so this is the first ever Bloodboils podcast mock draft. Today with me is just Jacob, but Jacob's not going to talk because he's refused to talk because he's the guy behind the glass and he wants to stay that way. Jameson ditched us, so he's not going to be here today, so it's just going to be me talking. And without further ado, let's get on to the mock draft. With the first pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Sam Darnold, quarterback from USC. See, the Browns can't possibly mess this one up. This has to be a quarterback. Unless, of course, they like all the top quarterbacks, which is apparently the case since they're talking about they like Mayfield, they like Darnold, they like Rosen, they like Allen. And if that's the case, then maybe they could wait till 4. But I don't think that's the case. I think that's all fluff. I think the Browns take Sam Darnold to be their franchise quarterback, which leaves us to the Giants. And I know that you said you're not going to talk, but you're a Giants fan, and you go when it went a completely different way than I did at pick 2. Jacob, who did you have go in pick 2?
For pick 2, I actually had us picking up an offensive lineman, Quentin Nelson.
Offensive lineman, Quentin Nelson at the 2nd overall pick. What's that mean? What's the stream health mean? What does that mean?
It just means that it's just acting, it's a little bit laggy, but it should be fine.
All right. So Jacob, a Giants fan, has the Giants taking. We're going to have some technical difficulties, by the way. This is our first time streaming, so just bear with us. He had them taking Quentin Nelson, who was a beast. I watched him in college a little bit, and you just watch any of his tape, and he pops off there. He's a mauler. He's going to be a good offensive lineman for a long time. But I don't have them taking an offensive lineman. I think that's a bit too rich for my taste. I honestly don't know if they're going to make that pick. People say, "Oh, Dave Gettleman, he's never traded down before in his life." Well, he's never had a pick this high that wasn't the first overall pick. So it could be very likely that if they get a complete steal, that they trade out of this pick. I think they take Saquon Barkley, Penn State running back, 2nd overall. Or they take a huge deal. But since I'm not projecting trades officially on the Bloodboils podcast, they're going to take Saquon Barkley, the beast halfback from Penn State University. And you spelled Saquon wrong. But the Jets, 3rd. So the Jets, they're going to take a quarterback. We've known they're going to take a quarterback this whole time. They do. There's a lot of talk about Baker Mayfield being the guy. Broadway Baker. It's already been coined. There's T-shirts already being sold. But who's the most pure passer and one of the best quarterbacks in this draft that's fallen down because of character concerns, because people think that, quite frankly, he's a douche? Josh Rosen. See, Josh Rosen could be the savior. And he's the best pure passer. He has a persona that he struggles with, and a lot of people are going to move past him because of that. But I think the Jets, through all of this subterfuge, through all of this talk, and all of the misdirections, Josh Rosen's their guy with the 3rd overall pick. And now we're back to Cleveland at 4. So Cleveland took Sam Darnold. The Giants took Saquon Barkley, and Josh Rosen went 3rd. 4th, they're going to take the best edge rusher in this draft, and there's no question about it. Bradley Chubb from NC State. Bradley Chubb is a phenomenal pass rusher from NC State. I mean, he's going to get the entire NC State squad drafted at this point. And with Myles Garrett and Emmanuel Ogbah on that Browns defense, they are going to have a consistent pass rush all year, which is, next to a franchise quarterback, they're the best thing you can have. And they got both this draft. The Denver pick is interesting. I really don't think Denver's going to make this pick. I think of the top 5 picks, this is the most likely to be traded. But in the event they do pick, I really liked one of the purest defensive back talents in the draft, Minkah Fitzpatrick, 5th overall. With 2 of the top quarterbacks gone, Bradley Chubb gone, and Saquon Barkley gone, who would be the 2 top position players to be taken at 5, Denver could get a haul by trading with a Buffalo if they really do care about Josh Allen. But right now, I think they traded away. But if they make a pick here, it's going to be Minkah Fitzpatrick. 6. This is a player I really love. Number 6, the Indianapolis Colts don't really have a stud on their defense outside of a potentially injury-prone Malik Hooker. He only got hurt once, major injury, missed a lot of playing time. He's their only true player on defense. So the Indianapolis Colts grab another star defensive player, Tremaine Edmonds, the really young Virginia Tech linebacker. He's going to be like 19 years old. He's 250 pounds, 6'4", 6'5". He can rush. He can cover. Virginia Tech played him in the slot. This is going to be a huge pick for the Indianapolis Colts. And number seven, I don't have to say much about. It's one of the easiest picks in the draft. Number 7, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Derwin James from Florida State. This one's easy. Florida State. Hold on, I'm getting a technical mess. Give me a shout out. Shout out to Ryan Keller and his fantasy football podcast. I'm blanking on the name. It's a really good podcast. You should go listen to it. And once I remember the name, it's anyway, whatever. It's a fantasy football podcast. It's really good. Go shout out my boy in Texas. This one's Derwin James. They love Florida players, players that played in college in Florida. Derwin James is an alpha male, and he's going to run that Buccaneers defense. On to Chicago. I hate Chicago. I'm a Green Bay Packers fan. I try to hide my bias, but when it comes to Chicago, I hate them. And your man, the one you wanted to go second overall to the Giants, goes here. I have them taking Quentin Nelson. Okay, Ryan has fixed me. His fantasy football podcast is Fantasy and Chill. Go check him out on Apple Podcasts and YouTube probably, or something like that. And he called me a dumbass. But on to Quentin Nelson. Quentin Nelson, like I said, is a monster. When you're talking about picking up second overall, he's definitely worth that, but I don't see that happening. But at pick 8, Chicago gets a stud guard to solidify their to help further solidify their run game and protect Mitch Trubisky. Number 9. Now bear with me here. There's gonna be people here watching that's gonna think this is crazy, and this pick could be traded away. But I have a point to make with this. The 9th overall pick is Will Hernandez, the guard from UTEP. I think it's UTEP. One of those University of Texas El Paso. The San Francisco 49ers, they need to build their offensive line against their savior, Jimmy Garoppolo. And how better to do this than somebody that's been hailed as possibly the only lineman who's better than Quentin Nelson. Now, I say this is one of my 2 picks. I'm going to make a point. Will Hernandez is flying up the boards right now. And could he end up in the top 10? Maybe. Right now, I think that would be a good fit for him, but just let it be known that I'm making a point that Will Hernandez could go higher than many people are expecting. And number 9 is no stretch for me because he is a beast. Number 10. When I did my first mock, I had Denzel Ward going to the San Francisco 49ers. Now with Will Hernandez there, Denzel Ward falls to Oakland. At number 10, I have Oakland taking Denzel Ward, the Ohio State corner. With Amerson out of Oakland, means that there's a huge hole here. And Ward fits pretty well. And with Marshawn Lattimore doing so well last year, that means that Ohio State defensive backs are a premium. Now we'll move on to Miami. Several weeks ago, Baker Mayfield tweeted, "Get me to Miami." And here we are. And I haven't been shy when I'm discussing these quarterbacks, when I'm saying who my favorite quarterback is, and it's Baker Mayfield, hands down. And I honestly think that if Baker Mayfield was 6'4", he'd be the top pick in this draft. He's a very good quarterback who many people don't like because he rubs people the wrong way. But he's got a chip on his shoulder, and he can play the quarterback position and play it well. Number 12, the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills moved up with the intention of getting a quarterback, and now they've been passed over early on by the Jets, and now a couple of the top quarterbacks are gone already. 3 of the top quarterbacks are gone already, leaving Josh Allen as the last top 4 quarterback left. Josh Allen has a big arm, he's mobile, and he's got a big body. And in that Buffalo weather, you need somebody that can take the abuse. And with that arm, what happened to 13? Jacob. I think they get their quarterback in Josh Allen, and maybe it's the guy they wanted, or maybe not. But I think they're planning on setting up a strong offense around Josh Allen, and Josh Allen is a good pick at 12. Number 13, the Washington Redskins. Last year they drafted a stud Alabama defensive lineman late in the first round. It's a pretty good deal. This year, they're going to draft another stud Alabama defensive lineman. The Washington Redskins draft Daron Payne. Now, Roquan Smith could go right here at 13. And in one of my Fanspeak, if you don't know what Fanspeak is, go to fanspeak.com and you can do your own draft simulation. It's fun stuff. Fall to 14. So that's who the Packers pick at 14. Roquan Smith, linebacker out of Georgia. So don't misspell Roquan. You misspelled Saquon earlier. All right, I get it. The 5 of you that are watching, I get it. It's crazy talk. I'm a Packers fan. Of course I want Roquan here, but hear me out. If you watch Roquan, he gets bullied. He's an athletic superstar line. He's going to be a great linebacker, but the problem is he struggles when defenders get to him, and that's true for a lot of linebackers. But when you're undersized, as talented as he is, he struggles to break off blocks. I think that could scare some teams in the top 10 and push him to pick 14. Pick 15, the Arizona Cardinals. After missing out on 4 quarterbacks, the Arizona Cardinals could take a reach here on Lamar Jackson, but that is not my pick. I think they say, you know what, I'm not going to be forced to take anybody. And I also think the Cardinals are going to be really hesitant to just sit back and wait for a quarterback to fall in their lap. Last year they got passed over for Patrick Mahomes, which means that the Cardinals are going to be really active trying to get ahead of some of these quarterback-needy teams. The pick here is Calvin Ridley, the wide receiver from Alabama. He's the top Alabama. He's the top Alabama in this draft. No, I don't know about that. He's the top wide receiver in this draft in a very close, unimpressive wide receiver class. A lot of these guys are similar, and that's going to cause some troubles, and it might cause a run late on wide receivers. But I think Calvin Ridley, who is hailed as the top wide receiver in this class, goes 15 to Arizona, who have no receivers except for Larry Fitzgerald, who's 40 now, something like that. All right, pick 16. The Baltimore Ravens select Vita Vea. So early on in Vita Vea's career, he was compared to a Haloti Ngata clone, which is pretty impressive. And I think he could be better than Haloti Ngata when his career's all done. The defense in Baltimore needs a stud on the front, and Vea could be that guy. If wide receiver goes here instead, I don't see him falling past the Chargers at 17, but right now in our mock draft we have Vita Vea at 16. Number 17. A lot of people are going to be surprised about this one. Number 17, the Los Angeles Chargers select quarterback from Louisville, Lamar Jackson. Yes, that's right. Lamar Jackson goes 17 to the Chargers. Now, Jackson could go anywhere from pick 15 to 18, possibly even a little bit earlier. And assuming there's no trades to get him earlier, this could be just the city for an electrifying athlete like Jackson. Now, however, it is entirely possible the Chargers go with another position here. But I think if they're looking to get somebody behind Phillip Rivers, this could be a great pick for them. Number 18, the Seattle Seahawks. If you know anything about the Seahawks and their drafting, you'll know that when it comes to draft day, they could make a pick, but more likely than not, they're going to trade that pick away and move back in the draft. But the Seattle Seahawks have a lot of holes. They have a lot more holes than they've had in the past few years. The Seattle Seahawks draft the edge rusher Marcus Davenport from UTSA. He is a bit of a developmental stud athlete edge rusher that is going to take a little bit of work to be an elite pass rusher, and he has a lot of upside, but he's pretty raw. And I think the Seahawks make a pick here because it's been a little bit of a luxury that they've moved down in the draft the past few years, but now they have troubles at both the safety spots. Richard Sherman's gone now. They have some defensive line troubles, and their offensive line's always a mess. They have wide receivers. I think they make this pick. Going against their history, their recent history of trading down, they don't trade down this year. Number 19. I hope Jamison's watching because I'm about to pick a pick for the Cowboys. Maryland wide receiver DJ Moore is going to go to the Cowboys at 19. Now, this could be any number of receivers after Calvin Ridley's off the board. It could be a Cortland Sutton. It could be a Christian Kirk, possibly. That wouldn't really make as much sense. He's a burner, and they already have that. But the two needs for the Cowboys are wide receiver and defensive line. Both of those are positions that Dallas doesn't normally take in the first round. But with Dez being gone, it makes a lot of sense that they get a wide receiver. Defensive line could happen, but I'm picking wide receiver. Detroit needs to work on their run game, but they also need to add a new pass catcher at the tight end spot. Mike Gesicki, the Penn State tight end, is going to go to Detroit at 20. Now, this could be a halfback, and if it were a halfback, I would guess, because of what Detroit needs, it would be a Darius Geis. But at this point, I think they take the tight end who's really athletic. He's a big-bodied guy, and he can run block. Not as well as guys like Hayden Hurst, but he can run block pretty well. Number 21, Leighton Vander Esch, the linebacker, goes to the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, he's a good value pick right here for the Bengals to help their front seven. And with this constant concern of whether or not Burfict is going to be suspended each year, this could give them some more stability on a less than solid front seven. Number 22, Buffalo. Quarterback at pick 12, and now offensive tackle at pick 22. The Buffalo Bills select Connor Williams, the tackle. See, the Bills are missing 3 offensive linemen from last year. And that's a pretty big problem. You don't usually go and perform well the year after you lose 3 of your starting offensive line. So this is a no-brainer. This could be Connor Williams, this could be Mike McGlinchey, or Colton Miller. But I really like Connor Williams, and as I said, it could be any number of those 3 tight ends. But I think an offensive lineman goes here, and Connor Williams is the man. Number 23, the New England Patriots. The Patriots are going to select a cornerback, Josh Jackson. So Josh Jackson was the top cornerback in the preseason. And as the season progressed, other more flashy corners, like a Denzel Ward, surpassed him. A less than stellar combine didn't help his cause, and it also caused some teams to consider Jackson as a safety. No matter what he plays, I see the Pats as a fit for a versatile DB like Jackson. It's important to consider that the run on tackles could start at 22. In this situation, Connor Williams starts that run. This could mean that the Patriots select a tackle here. Pick 24, the Carolina Panthers select Alabama linebacker Rashaan Evans. In my original mock, I had Rashaan Evans going 10th to the Raiders. I like him that much. Rashaan Evans is a big, strong, physical linebacker with sneaky speed. Rashaan Evans, he's a solid, aggressive linebacker, and he could fit well in Carolina. Thomas Davis is likely to retire. He said he's going to retire after this season, and then he said he wasn't going to, so we don't know about that. And Luke Kuechly is always a bit of a concern because of his concussion concerns. And Evans could help bolster a linebacking group to be a guy that replaces Thomas Davis. A wide receiver could go here as well as a tight end, especially if Greg Olsen informs the team that he's going to retire, which there have been talks about that. But that's only if he got the Monday Night Football job, and we don't know about that yet. Number 25, the Tennessee Titans select the edge rusher Harold Landry, and this might be the steal of the draft. Harold Landry falling to pick 25 helps an aging Tennessee front seven. And this could give some new blood to revitalize that defense. He is a refined, talented edge guy, and he can stand up a little bit. Perfect for what the Titans like to do. Number 26, the Atlanta Falcons take defensive tackle from Florida, Taven Bryan. See, now this pick is either a wide receiver or a defensive line pick. Taven Bryan is a guy that I like a lot. He's athletic and has a good motor. And he could end up being a long-time Falcon if he keeps developing the way that he seems to. Number 27, the New Orleans Saints select Hayden Hurst, the tight end. See, this just makes sense. You have a Hall of Fame quarterback at the end of his career in New Orleans. And you need another consistent contributor at the tight end spot. You also have a strong running attack in New Orleans. Hurst can help in both of those things. He can give a good target, and he knows how to block and block well. The fact that he's older might hurt him in other situations, but with this New Orleans team, it doesn't hurt him that bad, and I think that he could be a strong contributor right away. The Pittsburgh Steelers. After Ryan Shazier went out, we knew they were going to need a linebacker. At this point, they don't have a linebacker on the board that is worth that pick. So I think they take the safety Justin Reed. Now, it could be very likely that the Steelers get a Sony Michael and or a Darius Geis, the halfbacks, at one of these spots, just in case they need to replace need a replacement there. Now, the Steelers never trade their picks. I mean, never. They always keep their picks and just go as the draft falls. But this might be a year that they could trade up. They could trade up to get either a top linebacker or a quarterback if they think Big Ben's going to retire, which could happen. He says he's going to do it every year. Number 29, the Jacksonville Jaguars. See, now none of the sites that I looked at to research my this mock draft listed safety as a need, which baffles me, honestly. The Jaguars gave up a ton of yards in the air due to their sucky safeties. And, no disrespect to Tayshaun Gibson or Barry Church, but that was their weakness of their defense. And they had a strong secondary outside of that. Now, Ronnie Harrison, the safety, is who I have them going here. He's a bigger safety who could replace Barry Church right away, and that's something that they need. At pick 30, the Minnesota Vikings select Isaiah Oliver, the cornerback. Now, Isaiah Oliver from Wyoming, he's a great man corner, and he has 1 year of production because he was passed over by 2 top prospects last year. Now, this is a pick that I think is most likely to be traded away. At pick 30, the Minnesota Vikings, after signing Kirk Cousins, they need to get some other things, and they don't need something too pricey in the first round with the first round pick. So I see this thing being traded away. But if they can get someone like Isaiah Oliver, that's a solid pick right here. Number pick 31. Mike McGlinchey comes off the board and goes to the New England Patriots. Now, there's been some talk recently about Mike McGlinchey going in the top 10. And if that happens, well, he's not going to be here at 31. But in this mock, Mike McGlinchey's here for New England. And they get their Nate Solder replacement. And he kind of looks like Nate Solder. 6'8", huge offensive tackle. And with the last pick of the NFL draft, the Bloodboils podcast says that the Eagles are going to draft Sony Michel from Georgia. I keep messing up his name. Tongue twister. He's a versatile halfback, and it helps add to their stable. I can see the Eagles trading away here. They don't have very many picks outside the first round, so they might move back. But if they get a good halfback here, that's going to be a solid pick. And that is the mock draft. And now we're going to go on to talk about Jameson's mock that he sent us. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about a segment that I'd like to call the super duper hot takes segment, where we make some unfounded claims, and if they hit, then we told you so, and you owe us some royalties. And if they don't hit, we were just making a joke, and it's nothing serious. So now that the ground rules are set, Jameson is the first person who made a hot take, and his hot take was that the New England Patriots weren't going to make a pick in this first round. Instead, they were going to trade their picks for Julio Jones of the Falcons, which, like I said, these are very hot takes, and they are completely unfounded. But have fun with it. Now, my hot take was, there's a guy in Tampa Bay that is less than extraordinary, and some called him unathletic, and some say that he's a bit of a bust at this point. I think it's a little bit much. I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could trade away their quarterback, Jameis Winston, to let's say the Jets at 3. So the Jets get Jameis Winston, and the Buccaneers get to pick whichever quarterback they have on the board right there and start with a new quarterback. And Jacob had his hot take, and his hot take was, did you have a hot take, or did you just say, I don't have anything? He doesn't have a hot take, so Jacob's very mild. Now, there were some things that Jameson had on his mock draft. He wasn't able to be here, God rest his soul. He was lazy or whatever. So, he had Bradley Chubb going first overall. Imagine that. The NC State fan had Bradley Chubb going first overall. It's not that crazy. He's a very good player, and if the Browns feel good about all 4 of these quarterbacks, which they might, I don't know. Dorsey doesn't really tell anybody anything, but if they feel good about all 4 quarterbacks, the Bradley Chubb could go first. The top 4 picks will shake up the entire draft. That's kind of a duh. Of course they will. Baker Mayfield's possible at 1. If you hear all the rumors, I think they're all bogus. I love Baker Mayfield, but I don't see him being a top quarterback. It would really, really shock me. Josh Allen to the Cardinals at 15 is what Jameson has, and I could see that if he falls that far. I don't see him falling past 12, though. The Cowboys get their wide receiver, misspelled there, but I'm going to let him slide on that. Calvin Ridley. 4 or 5 wide receivers come off in consecutive. This is the one thing I was telling you about before we started this stream. He has 5 wide receivers. I think it was Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, Christian Kirk, and Deion Kane going out in the first round. All straight 5 picks, which could happen. Runs happen in the draft, and when if you're a team that's in need of, in this case, a wide receiver, and you see one taken, well, that starts a chain reaction of picks to be taken after that. Oh, and then he has his Julio Jones hot take. But yeah, this is going to be a great draft. And if you've been following the draft at all, you'll know that's the case. The first overall pick is usually given away at this point. Everybody knows who it's going to be. We assume it's going to be somebody like Sam Darnold, who was the preseason first overall pick, and then Rosen came up, and then Baker Mayfield, and then Josh Allen came on hot towards the end of the season. But now Sam Darnold's back at the top of the boards, and they say he's going to be the top guy, and that's usually how it goes. You have guys that jump in front of the preseason top guy, and now he's back there on the top, and I think that's how it's going to lay. I don't think that Rosen or Mayfield are going to be picked first. If a quarterback goes first, it's probably Sam Darnold. Allen would surprise me. The Giants at 2, they're a big mystery. I really think that one could be traded if they get a huge deal. If not, you get Saquon Barkley or Bradley Chubb at 2. I think later on you have some more mysteries. Minkah Fitzpatrick, players, franchises don't really know what to think about him. He's a talented, very instinctual defensive back, but he's not really a safety. He's not really a corner, so teams are kind of scared of that. I have him at 5. But like I said, Denver probably isn't making that pick if it unfolds the way we thought with 1 through 4. Tremaine Edmonds, I really like him. I liked him to be a good player in this league for a while. Derwin James, he's an alpha. He's going to do well. Quentin James, Will Hernandez, I think they're going to step in immediately. A little bit further down, we have Deron Payne, Vita Vea, guys like that, strong defensive tackles. In the second round, we have guys that are still there, such as a Christian Kirk. We have Maurice Hurst, who had a condition that made him miss the combine. He's a talented guy. We have some halfbacks with guys. Guys didn't get picked in the first round in our mock. And we have some other cards like Carlton Davis and Mike. The UCF corner. in the second round. Have a lot of talented players outside of the first round, and this could be a very exciting draft. We have Lamar Jackson. Where does he go? That's one of the biggest questions. So that wraps up our mock draft. It would have been a little bit longer if we had more people here, but I can only talk for so long, and I'm sure that the 4 of you that are still watching feel the same way. But that is how the draft's going to go. So if you think anything else, I'm sorry, but the Blood Boils podcast word is law. Nobody's asked any questions, which was going to prolong this a little bit. I expect to have some questions, but no. Ryan, the guy with the fantasy football podcast, that I forgot the name of the football podcast, whatever it is. He's a Texans fan, so he's not going to have a very exciting day on day 1 of the draft because they don't have any picks. They would be picking at 4, and they could get a really good player, but instead they have an injury-prone Deshaun Watson. But, well, that's that. That is the Blood Bowl podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and we're going to be having more episodes after this. We're going to talk about the NBA Finals, probably, and really just whatever our schedule permits. We'll try to stream more often. This has been fun. Thank you for watching, and subscribe and all that fun stuff.